323 BC, 3572 AM. After returning to Susa in 324 BC, ending a 6-year expedition into India, Alexander finally made it back to Babylon and took up residence in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar II. He became ill, worsened, and then died, his body exposed in the hall of Nebuchadnezzar II. His own companions believed that he had been poisoned. He died at age 33. Babylon had been the head of gold in the biblical prophecy of the succession of empires, Persia being the breast and arms of silver, and Macedon was the thighs of brass. Or in another prophecy, Babylon was the lion, Medo-Persia was the bear, and Macedonia was the four-headed leopard. Alexander died exactly 60 years after his father Philip II was born in 383 BC. Alexander's death is said to have coincided with the burning of the famous temple of Artemis of Ephesus. Alexander's 4 generals paired off, and one named Seleucus assumed the rule of the Macedonian Empire from the Indus Valley to Ephesus in Ionia, over all of Persia, initiating the Seleucid dynasty, ruled by 2 generals. Another general seized Macedonia and Grecdom, named Antigonus, and Ptolemy secured his rule over Egypt, starting the Ptolemaic dynasty. The empire was divided into 4 regions, fulfilling the prophecy of the four-headed leopard. Ptolemy saw to Alexandria and had the world-famous city in northern Egypt built, and even founded the Alexandrian Library, which would one day house almost 1 million texts copied from stone tables, tablets, stelae, vellum, books, bones, parchment, scrolls, wooden tablets, pillar inscriptions, and papyri. In 358 AD, Hillel III, a Jewish historian, wrote that, quote, Alexander, by his personal endowments as conqueror and statesman, did more in 12 years, 144 months, to affect the future conditions of the world than any uninspired man that has ever lived, unquote. Alexander's army, train, and multitude of Greek migrants settled the area of Galilee, which until this time was virtually empty due to Arab raids. It has not escaped historians the similarity between Galilee and Gaul or Galatia. This region was a garden realm, and people from all over the Mediterranean and Greek states joined these military settlers, building 10 distinct cities in the area, which was formerly allotted to the 10 tribes of Israel in western Galilee and Samaria. These 10 cities were collectively known ever afterward as the Decapolis, 10 thoroughly Greek international cities, sophisticated, wealthy, and populous. They overlooked the Sea of Galilee, and many from the Aegean, Asia Minor, and Europe settled these cities. People no doubt blood descended from the Israelites themselves, who settled the Peloponnesus, Thrace, Macedon, and Ionia between 1369 to 945 BC. It is to be remembered that the Jews' chief accusation against Jesus was that he was Galilean. 1. Alexander the Great. 2. The Poisoned King. 4. Daniel. 5. The Archaix volume. 322 BC, 3573 AM. Aristotle died, his various works still seriously studied even after the passage of 23 centuries. Unlike other popular writers from antiquity whose writings were lost and then later rediscovered, Aristotle's works have always been with us. 321 BC, 3574 AM. In Italy, a people called the Samnites defeated the Romans at the Caudine Forks. The calendrics for this year identify both the Romans and the descendants of Israel. This was the 432nd year of Rome, half of 864, which was founded in 753 BC, and this was also exactly 400 years, 10 40-year generations, after the last of the 10 tribes of Israel were deported by the Assyrians in 721 BC. The description Samnites is Latin, more properly rendered the Shemites. 1. Tacitus, Annals of Imperial Rome, footnote. 319 BC, 3576 AM. The Macedonian general Ptolemy begins ruling Egypt as satrap. In 14 years he would declare himself king. This is 288 years, 144 times 2, before the final fall of Egypt to Rome in 31 BC. In this year, the 7th Bakhtun of the Mayan long count calendar is complete, after 1,008,000 days, from 3113 BC. The 7th Bakhtun began in 713 BC, when the dark satellite altered the Earth's solar orbit, adding 5.25 days to the length of the year. The significance here is that the prophet chronologist Enoch developed the Mayan system before the flood, and his empire was seated at antediluvian Egypt. In this year, the dark satellite returns, passing through the inner solar system, a lost moon of Nibiru. Before the flood, the Nephilim dynasty or Anunnaki dynasty that began in 2839 BC, that ruled from Egypt, started 2520 years, 360 times 7 before this date. The appearance of the dark satellite, a former rock and metal moon of enormous size, in this year, probably unseen from Earth, was 684 years after the throne of David was set up in Jerusalem in 1003 BC, which began the Davidic dynasty. And counting this same 684 years previous to 1003 BC, was the appearance of planet Phoenix in 1687 BC, that literally destroyed all the children of the sun dynasties around the world with quakes, darkening of the sun and flooding. 313 BC, 3582 AM. The Greek Seleucid calendar begins in Syria, of Macedonian origin, thus Israelite in origin. This was exactly 400 years after the solar year was altered in 713 BC by the dark satellite, the alteration of the planetary orbit affecting all calendars in the world. The calendrics for this extraordinary year reveal the importance of this new Seleucid calendar. This year was 3936 years, 666 times 6 of the Phoenix chronology, and 3726 years, 414 times 9 of the orbital chronology, that began with Earth beginning its present orbit around the Sun in 4309 BC. This was the 2800th year of the Mayan long count calendar, or 400 times 7 years. This was 1056 years, see 2839 BC for import, after the Danaan Israelite in 1369 BC began settling the Aegean and Thessaly, from which the later Macedonians emerged. This was the 690th year, 138 times 5 Phoenix orbits, since the founding of the Davidic dynasty at Jerusalem in 1003 BC. This was 408 years, 4896 months is 2448 plus 2448, after the last of the 10 tribes were deported in 721 BC by the Assyrians, and 230 years, 2760 months is 552 times 5, after the start of the Buddhist calendar in 543 BC. That this is an Israelite calendar, Syria was a people assimilated anciently with Phoenicians and Hebrews, is found in that this was 432 years, half of 864. Lastly, this was 576 years, 144 times 4, before the start of the Egyptian Christian Coptic calendar in 264 AD. Interestingly, Christianity began in Lower Syria, Galilee.